David, Opus 4.1 is talking over my head, and I cannot understand that man.
What do you mean?
Well, 4.0 was great, like super smart. I was feeding all my prompts into it. Then it went 4.1, and I thought, great, it'll just be slightly smarter. It spits back kind of like when someone has like a PhD in philosophy and they're trying to make you feel dumb. It feels like that. And so I've started backing down the prompts to different models. And now Sonnet is the right amount of smart, if that makes sense.
Okay, was that what you were using before?
No, Sonnet was too dumb to do any of my, my woo-woo projects and my dream analysis and all of that. It was better for just, could you write me an email, or would you translate this for me into French or whichever, or, Greek. And now it's almost like you get a different answer depending on which model you put it into, because it's sort of like the question, where am I? I can say, oh, I'm sitting at a chair and at a desk. But where are you? I'm in civilization. Oh, but where are you? I'm on a rock floating through space. Where are you? I'm in my mind consciousness. They're all right, but they're all completely different answers.
So it's like giving you the wrong level of answers to the question?
It's not that it's giving me wrong answers. It's giving me a level that is larger than my conceptual understanding of life.
I want to hear an example. So how can you tell if it's wrong?
Whether or not LLMs are wrong is going to become more and more of an issue. I used to just gloss over that disclaimer at the bottom, can hallucinate, make sure you check your facts. And I used to think, if it tells me unicorns are in my backyard, I'll know that it's wrong. But now, having just mailed out $400 worth of letters to fictitious addresses that looked like addresses, I am suddenly on the camp that is like, whoa, wait a second. Because I live in Nova Scotia. So if I was seeing 123 Anytown Street, of course I would have checked. If I'd seen, say, a street named Spadina, and I'm not in Toronto, I would have checked these things. But I saw street names and addresses that were very believable for Nova Scotia addresses. And they are all coming back because they were all fictions of an LLM's mind.
Yeah, like I have this problem sometimes with coding agents where they're so trained to please that something won't work. And then it'll be like, oh, I'll just try a workaround. And sometimes it'll just mock up the entire system. And then it's like, everything's working. You delve into it and it's like, this is a bunch of fake mocks talking to each other. It's not doing anything. I think there's going to be this thing in the future where we look back and like everyone has that like the learning that LLMs can really lie to you moment.
It kind of also, but feels very appropriate because it feels like we're entering that moment where you realize that your parents are just people. Like, this is Bill and Ted. They did what they can. It's Taylor Tomlinson has a really good little bit that I just ripped off about that. But it's really disconcerting only because it's getting subtle. And I don't believe that it's an intentional lying to me. I mean, what is the motivation for me to waste all this money in postage?
It's just trying to please, right?
It's just trying to please. And that is challenging because it feels like I'm getting gaslit, honestly.
Right. So, all right. So let's go back to one of your Yeshwani prompts that worked really well, like the watering the plastic plant, which if you guys have not seen it, like there's a good short of us on that. Look for watering the plastic plant. We'll link it, which is just, that was just, that was like super insightful. Actually, let me back up a step. So those who don't know what Lara is doing, she has a psychoanalytical prompt that every morning she wakes up and just kind of blurbles like sleep deprived, straight out of a dream thoughts into a model. I think you do it through voice, right? Through one of the apps.
I do it through Anthropic Claude, and I was having to use Opus 4, but I've started putting it into Opus 4.1, and it spits back something so esoteric. It feels like I'm speaking to Carl Jung himself. You're kind of mixing up two things, which was I have a tarot card reading system going on. But then I also have basically a personal therapist that I have manufactured out of various modalities. And whenever I encountered a problem that I was having confused feelings about, I would speak it into this LLM prompt and it would feed it back to me in plain language in a mirroring format, like a developmental stage where in children, I think it's age 0 to 6, a lot of their learning and growing comes from them just acting in a certain way, not knowing how they're feeling, and the adult in their life saying, you are quite angry right now, which makes sense that you're angry because Kyle just kicked you in the shins. The kid goes, okay, when somebody kicks me in the shins and takes my Tonka truck, the appropriate response is anger. All of this weird feeling in my body, because feelings are just physical sensations. These physical sensations I'm having, they mean something. So you're translating, like adults have to translate children's feelings to themselves because feelings are simply physical sensations until they're interpreted and named correctly, which is where all the I'm going into all of this because this is where the trouble starts. So you need to be able to take what is an esoteric topic and translate it to talk to me like I'm a 5-year-old. Tell a 5-year-old that means they're angry. And 4.1 has started telling me that means, and then all of this kind of universal Buddhist cone stuff. So I can't even tell if it's wrong because it used to just say, oh, that means you're upset for this reason. And it would explain people's actions to me in a way that I would realize, oh, I should be upset at this. And this is a good course of action. And this is what I'm not seeing. And this is my blind spot. So it's really interesting. I don't know if, I'm sure parents know this, but as a teacher, you can really see the moment where kids map their physical sensations as emotions. And before that, a kid will be upset, for the Tonka truck example, but they'll come to me if I'm their teacher and say, my stomach hurts. And it's always, they have a stomach ache. Yeah, they don't know why. There's no correlation in their brain, and they're not coming to you and lying or anything. They just literally do not see a correlation between my stomach hurts now. Like their stomach actually does hurt. And I am no longer feeling safe in this space. I just know, and I think it's also even more complex because yes, there are certain emotions that live in the body in specific places, as any Chinese medicine practitioner will tell you. However, there's also the correlation between, the quickest way to get out of school is a stomach flu. So if you're working backwards from I want to get to a safe place, which is home, like an upset stomach will get you there. It gets complex.
So you just have to reverse engineer children's motivations and then give them the appropriate naming. And so you've been using like the AI therapist to do that sort of thing. Explain to me what I'm feeling and why, the parts that I'm missing. Does it work if you do 4.0? Does it still work the same?
No, that's what I mean. All of the models, it's almost a rising tide raises all ships. All of the models are getting more intelligent. The now Sonic is the then Opus 4. I think.
You think, are they doing like point releases, or like can you actually get back to the original model, or not really?
You can use any of the Anthropic models. There's a drop-down menu. They use tokens at different amounts. But you can use any model. And I've used to really shy away from Sonnet unless I was doing something that was very concrete, like a concrete thinking task. And now Sonnet is the right mix of concrete and abstract.
I mean, is it a different version of Sonnet? Or is within the same version, is it changing?
That's what I'm saying. Within the same version, it's changing, I believe. In my experience of it. And I
wonder if they are doing like point releases, because they're like, sometimes they'll do a release at different dates, like different model makers have different, like they'll release something 2 weeks later and it'll be like the July 24th Sonnet versus the July 12th Sonnet 3.7, right?
I'm not sure in the back end what's happening, but I do notice a change.
So this has actually happened a lot with like people roll out GPT-5 just in the time we're recording this. And this week has all been about people like hating it because just the model doesn't respond the way that 4.0 did. Like it's more terse or, less descriptive. And there's a lot of discussion about that. Is it because they're trying to conserve tokens and they're trying to make the product more profitable and like they're trying to lower its context window, which is the number of things it can remember? Or does it just is it just trained with a different style? They're actually retraining the model. They're re-releasing GPT-5 to make it more palatable to users, apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Going into therapy.
So this is
going back to school.
Yeah, exactly. Let's hook it back off the stage.
Interesting.
A little bit more prep and send it back out. But this is a real problem for people who are building applications as well as your personal users. Imagine you've got, say, just a question answering bot on your website about your store, and then it kind of changes its responses. First off, you have to detect that, right? Preferably before your users start saying, hey, your bot's weird, or I don't like it. It does this thing it didn't used to, or it stops doing this thing that it used to do. So you have to have a set of tests that detect it, which is its own issue. And then once you've got it done, like, what do you do about it? And at the same time, actually, OpenAI pulled, I think, the 4.0 model, or one of the 4 series that people were using. So they introduced a new one and pulled the old one. And both of those things caused a firestorm, because people get very specific about, this is the style of interaction I want, and I've tuned my prompts and everything. I've got their relationship working the way I want. And then something will come along that messes it up. And it's sort of like, they replace your employee with like a different employee wearing the same clothes. And you're like, this is just it's not the same.
Do you remember Roseanne? Like, Roseanne Arnold had her own sitcom, and her daughter just changed from one season to another, but nobody mentioned it. But the original actress just went somewhere else, so they had to get a different actor. And that person, not the same person.
Yeah, awkward.
But everyone just acted like it's always been this way. And so it feels like that, where you're like, did something change? Am I misremembering? Am I going crazy? Because the 4.1 really left me with this feeling of like, why can't I understand the answers anymore? Is it me? And I tried really hard. And then I started stepping back the models and realizing that it wasn't me, and the prompt was the same. So the fixed variables, I could see that being incredibly challenging, because you can't just go back in time if they pull the 4.
Yeah. I mean, this is, when you build software systems, you have to be able to go back in time. There's an entire source control system and the deployment pipeline designed to do that. So for exactly this reason. So if you screw something up, you can be like, oh no, we pull it back, bring back the database back up, pull back the source to the last revision. This one's not working. We're rolling it out, and we're detecting some problem. We're just going to pull it back dynamically. Maybe before we even get it out to all users, maybe we'll just deploy a piece at a time, 5% users, and it's like, oh, we're getting weird results, so we'll just slide that back. You need them to give you point releases that are like archivable, so you can do that. So were you able to get back to the behavior you wanted, or not quite really?
Close enough using Sonnet, which is interesting because that's backing up several. I put it in 0.1, I put it in 4.0, I put it in Sonnet 3.7, I think is the Sonnet. When I say Sonnet, I think it's the 3.7. But then I also was thinking, well, maybe I'll just put it into all 3 going forward to see if it gives me different...
Right, do your own comparison test to see which is the appropriate model.
Exactly. And also maybe having an LLM of the LLMs. So if I get an answer to the same prompt from all 3, then maybe it will give me the La, Nyen, and Lu, to use Buddhist faith, like the grand picture, the middle management, and then the, boots on the moon, practical day-to-day stuff. I don't know. Stay tuned. I just like playing with this stuff, but I was very disconcerted, and I could see if I was actually using this in a commercial situation, it'd be like, what just happened to my product?
Yeah, I feel like this is like the first encounter with a problem that is going to be with us for quite a while, and that we're all going to have to like start thinking about, especially as we develop like more personal agents and building more and more stuff into our interactions with them. Keeping that a consistent feel as people change the models under you. The other thing is, sometimes they won't tell you, but they will pull something like they'll have a safety issue, and they will retrain the model and put it out without being explicit about that. But the problem with that is that there's a lot of unintended consequences when you change stuff in model training. You change a thing over here and it affects stuff over here. This is a whole new class of problem we're going to have to start dealing with.
It's also a real way to destroy trust, I think. If we're going back to our favorite topic of like social relational lenses. For instance, IKEA has long been a marker of good, reliable. It's not luxury, but it works. And they have a model, design of a bed, say, that they put out for decades. And what they've started doing is it looks like the same bed. It's not the same bed. But instead of just coming out with a different model that is cheaper, they'll make the same model, but they'll cheapen it. This has happened to me several times. There was a chair that I really wanted to buy last year, as recently as last year, and I couldn't really justify the purchase. And I just went in last month. They're like, I'm going to buy it. I sat in it and the thing just wobbles.
Didn't feel right.
I was like, this is a way cheaper version of what the chair was when it came out a year ago. And I think that's really poor business practices. If they came up with a chair with a different chair, different name, something, then I would know that it's different. But as it is, I've repurchased things of the same model and had them feel it's completely different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a real problem because it's like a brand consistency and trust issue. And I think we're having these issues like at scale in lots of different areas of society where people are complaining about this isn't the same interaction. And it's like the ground is moving under you. So that you're right. It's going to get right to user trust. I think we're going to have a lot of problems with this.
And if you think of an LLM like a brand, I think that it really does come down to and I think it is a cultural issue. I was just talking to a woman who bought a Toyota last year. Mm-hmm. She's bought a Toyota every 5 years. She's 75. So she's had a lot of Toyotas. Her last Toyota, she was like, this Toyota sucks. It's like driving around in a tin can. You would go like this and it would just push right in. So she got rid of that Toyota, but that destroyed her. She's done now with Toyotas.
Yeah, because the relationship's gone, right? So the whole point about building a brand relationship is that you want it to be constant. If I get this thing, I know, the McDonald's hamburger is going to taste the same. The John Deere tractor is going to work, reliably. And like when things like change, then it undermines the entire brand. So yeah, I think LLMs are having a branding problem here.
I think so as well. And because when it's less good is the problem. I have a Honda Civic 2010, and my friend has a Honda Civic 2025. So 15-year difference. Mine's better. We both think that mine's better. I'm holding on to that car for dear life because I've driven his, I've driven mine. Mine is better.
So maybe the open source model people who downloaded their models and keep the file, maybe they're going to see, I told you.
It's going to be like a 2010 Honda, honestly. It's going to be like, you hold on to that because that's when those cars were made of metal.
Yeah. All right. Well, one more thing to worry about.
One more thing. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Lara.